Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Drama returns to the North American scene, as is always the case. Another off-season, another competitive ruling from Riot Games to dive into, this time regarding former NRG coach in Chet. Major drama going down last night. Lots of questions whether this is fair or not fair, whether Chet should be freed, and also the fact that Chet is unlikely to get a spot in VALORANT for this upcoming season because he simply cannot, given the suspension that has now been put onto his name. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. Couple of roster things before we get into the Chet drama. Munchkin is back. So we saw that Gen.G, they released most of their players. They re-signed Texture. They re-signed Karon. They said, all right, Meteor, Lakia, Munchkin, you guys are free to explore options, but we are still renegotiating with some of those guys. Obviously, Meteor's gone. He's going to T1. Lakia, we're not so sure. Munchkin is back. So that's confirmed yesterday by Gen.G that they will be at least keeping the majority of their team from last year that was so successful, of course. Yes, they didn't have the result they wanted at the World Championship, but winning Masters Shanghai was still better than, you know, the first champion, of course, for the Pacific region in the VCT, right? So cool to see Munchkin's back on Gen.G, and it's nice to see at least the majority of their team sticking around. However, T1, they are trying to pick up the pieces. We know that they're signing a couple of important pieces, and that is the case with Buzz as well. This has been rumored now for some time, that T1 looking at Buzz. I think even when it was first rumored, Buzz said, like, wait for confirmation, nothing's true, I've not signed any deals, but I think it was relatively clear that that deal was pretty close to being done, and now it is. So T1 Buzz is official for next year. Definitely feels strange to see Buzz in a T1 jersey and not in a DRX jersey, because that has been the case now for a very long time. And yeah, it's only Mako that remains on that DRX roster. So yeah, confusing decisions, I will say, from DRX. But look, it might be working out quite well for T1, taking advantage of the opportunities, bringing Buzz into the lineup. We're not exactly sure what's happening with Foxy9, for example, also released recently by DRX, but they're building a brand new team. Of course, used to be the Vision Strikers, then it went to DRX, and now over the last couple of years, that roster is, of course, absolutely all over the place. But the possibility here of, well, Buzz reuniting with Stacks over at T1, you know, I like it. I think that team's going to be very promising for the new year. Big update on Cloud9 as well, confirming that a few of their players have extended their contracts. So Zeppa's contract has gone from being a 2026 end date up to a 2027 end date. The same for Moose, and then Oxy is now signed, according to the contract database, until 2028. Now, this is a big deal. I don't really know why they're signing so many long-term deals. I get it for some of these guys, right? Zephyr, and like, if I'm Zephyr, if I'm Moose, and they're saying, we're gonna, like, do you want to sign a 3-year deal for guaranteed some sort of money? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty unlikely if you're Moose or Zephyr, a better organization's going to come along and snap you up. So it just makes sense. If you're Oxy, though, I do hope this doesn't prove to be a mistake in the long term, because, you know, people are arguing that Oxy's effectively thrown himself in contract jail and thrown away the key. Because we know that Oxy is a very talented, promising player. I mean, he was linked to go to G2 this offseason, right? That was a rumor that at G2, of course, they got rid of Nets. They brought in Icy. They wanted to replace Icy. They've eventually gone for Jorgamo. But Oxy was linked there for a little bit of time, and it seemed like even a team like G2, looking to upgrade from what is a very solid roster, wanted Oxy in their lineup. That never happened, and now Oxy is committing to staying for like 5 years with Cloud9, which, you know, if Oxy continues to improve and other teams want him, it just may not prove to be the best decision if Cloud9 just have access to his services basically forever. I mean, you know, this guy may spend his whole career with one organization, which doesn't tend to be the way to do it. But I do, of course, hope that it works out here for both parties. But let's talk about some of the drama in North America. Obviously, we saw the Ludwig Tarek Invitation number 3 conclude yesterday. Ardis and Zelt's having a bit of a back and forth. But then we saw this tweet that I mentioned at the start of the video here from Chet. News incoming. Okay, good or bad news? What's going on? Is he getting signed to a team? Has he got his next step lined up? Because we know that Chet was the coach of NRG, was dropped from NRG. Basically, Bonka has come in. And there was the drama the other day when Bonka said that he was going to be a better coach coach than Chet. Chet was like, oh yeah, nice one, Buster. You didn't win anything in a game that was actually competitive. You were terrible in Valorant, and you're going to get your chicken nugget salary, so enjoy that one. And that was the drama of a couple of days ago. But yesterday, Riot Games, VCT Americas, they dropped this competitive ruling. Now, I mean, what is it with off-seasons in Valorant and some sort of drama? But here we go again. So let me just read through this. Chet violated Riot Games' Global Esports Code of Conduct for broadcasting VODs, so VODs, video on demands, whose access was contingent on current status as head coach of a VCT team. His access to the content was unauthorized, and its distribution on the 31st of July 2024 constituted a breach of proprietary information. He did not secure permission from Riot Games, NRG, and the other teams involved prior to broadcasting publicly inaccessible VODs and communications to his personal channels. Consequently, Chet is suspended effective immediately and continuing through the end of Masters Bangkok, March the 3rd, 2025. So what do we have on our hands here? Chet then responds and says, look, I disagree with their ruling as no damages were done to either party, but I can no longer compete as player, coach, obviously, until March. Until then, I will be streaming in the meantime. So to me, this is a rather confusing situation, certainly coming from like a Call of Duty background where streaming VODs is no problem. So just to kind of quickly explain what exactly happens here. A couple of months ago, Chet turned the stream on and broadcast some VODs, which he recorded from trials with NRG. So NRG did some trials at some point, and he just, played those VODs on stream. Like with, obviously, you could see everything, your team, their team, and everything to that effect. Which, isn't anything crazy as far as I'm concerned, really. But, of course, as Riot say, that is unauthorized because various reasons, and it seems like there is a ruling which prevents the use, at least the public dissemination of this type of content, scrim recordings basically, by anyone that has access to it. Now, personally, I'm not really sure this should be a big deal. I don't really, I feel like this is pretty damn harsh, but I will also say it's a pretty slam dunk case. Chet clearly did what they say he did. It clearly seems to be against the rules that the players, coaches, teams signs with Riot's partner agreements. So it's an easy slam dunk case for Riot to say, well, we can make an example on this case and prove that we don't want that to be happening. Obviously, the argument might be, are there other things they should be focusing on instead, like tier 2 or whatever, like actually fixing the cycle over there? Maybe. But look, as much as I think that Chet will disagree with it, and many in the community are like, this seems pretty unfair. I mean, there's been people banned for things before, cheating, various other things. Like, Chet's broken a rule, but he's not done anything egregious as far as I'm concerned. It also raises interesting questions as to exactly what is allowed and what isn't. The other debate was, have NRG instigated this, right? Did Bonkar call in a hit, right? Was he like, yo, Riot, like, this guy's trash talking me and saying I'm, going to be eating chicken nuggets for dinner because my salary's low. Like, can you shut this guy down? But apparently, no. This was, NRG say they had no involvement here. They didn't snitch on Chet, and maybe just someone at Riot saw that a few months ago and they've been working through it, right? That's basically what Chet says, that they've been working through this process for a few months. Chet's tried to appeal it or say, well, can we work out another solution? But they've said, no, you're getting banned for 6 months. 6 months seems kind of like a stretch as well. I mean, it is just preventing him getting a job for the majority of, obviously going into the new season. And Tanez, who worked with Chet on NRG, says, seems like a bit of a witch hunt, not gonna lie. He streamed a VOD of an official with comms 6 months later and only one of those 5 players even remains. And NRG made a comms video of it. Maybe focus your time on the people with actual pedo and racist allegations who are still on teams. So, and then he goes on to name a few guys who are obviously controversial for various reasons. So, I mean, yeah, there's that whole side of the story as well. And, Arnold from Gen.G here, though, says Riot are pretty serious when it comes down, and publishers in general, when it comes down to, leaks of data or gameplay that maybe shouldn't be publicly accessible. But, the question is, why shouldn't it? And as Chloe Gaming says, it may be fair enough. Like, if you're posting a clip of a scrim, like, let's say you pop an ace in a scrim against a certain team, if you post that clip as it is raw, that's probably a violation. That's why you'll often see the players, they'll blur out the other team, or they'll blur out the composition of the other team or something, right? They tend to make some sort of alteration, because apparently if they don't, that's a problem. But it's kind of not been clear that that is a problem until now, when, this ruling has become evident that it's an issue. But, seemingly Chet and NRG should have known about this, should have been able to avoid it. Whether it's fair is a different question, to be honest. But look, we did get responses. Obviously, Som says, free coach Chet, right? Because, tough for Chet, right? He's trying to get a job and he can't get one because he's banned. And as he says, wasn't able to accept any team offers due to this ongoing, sadly. Sorry, guys. And obviously, FNS is in the reply saying free Chet and all this. So, yeah, it is tough for all parties involved. And I know there was this as well. People were saying, well, Chet was accused by Potter kind of leaking VODs back in the day last year sometime, and Chet said, I have nothing to do with that. I never did that at all. Like, why would I do such a thing? Also read the article. It's a different story, right? So then Chet says, and he does make the decision. You guys remember we heard rumors a while ago that Chet was considering transitioning to Counter-Strike, moving away from Valorant, and even said at the time that those rumors about him leaving Valorant for Counter-Strike were affecting his opportunities in Valorant, because people thought he was leaving, so it was affecting his career in Val. But obviously this other thing has now happened to also affect his career in Val, and as he says, with recent news that I'm going to be exploring my options in CS2, if any teams are interested, let me know. Still open to Val opportunities after my suspension, will be streaming until then. So yeah, tough situation, wishing the best for Chet, but as he says, Victor's like, don't leave us please. Bro, I can't even watch party or go to the America's Arena. Seems like I committed a federal crime. So this is like also quite the thing. It's not like he's just banned from competing, but like they're not going to allow him to watch party, which on some level goes hand in hand. Like, I'm not expecting them, having banned the guy, to give him watch party permissions. But the fact that he can't even go to the arena, like he's literally banned from the America's Arena according to this statement, like he's not even able to go and watch, is pretty wild, to be honest. But yeah, Chet isn't happy about it. Kevin Hitt, of course, a journalist, comes in the replies and says a few things and says, instead of chirping on socials, how about you have a dialogue? And Chet's like, look, I've been doing this for months. I found this information out doing that. So, what do you want me to do? He says, I can't appeal the process. The decision is final. We've been talking about it with Riot for like 3 months. I can't really say more than what is available in the public statement. I hired a lawyer to represent me, as I wouldn't want to handle a situation like this on my own. Riot makes the decisions here. So yeah, fascinating situation. Very much intrigued to your thoughts as ever and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.